Up next,
on Eco Company,
growing green never felt so crafty. It's a hands-on lesson with stuff destined for the dump.
then it's Panel Power to the Rescue, how these students help their school get solar panels to save energy.
And the view from up there. NASA satellites give us a bird's eye view of the planet and climate change, and scientists show us some of their research.
Plus, we visit a museum with creatures big and small, and we'll learn how some insects are being affected by climate change. Eco Company
Starts now. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Brendan. First up, making the world a little greener.
As you might guess, it's about growing plants, but it's also about a whole lot more.
And we met up with some teens that are breaking ground in more ways than one.
Let's go join them.
All right, see you later. So how do you get inspired? These teens are getting into the gardening spirit with some music at the Breaking Ground Conference, organized by the San Francisco Parks Trust. It's a program designed to get young people involved in greening their neighborhoods. Our first stop, to meet youth from Literacy for Environmental Justice.
We're a nonprofit organization, and we grow native plants. We grow at least 10,000 native plants a year.
LEJ focuses on restoring neglected urban areas and promotes the right of everyone to have access to a clean, non-toxic environment around them. Hey, I hear these guys are working with a rare native plant. Let's go help them out. What we do is we take out a clump of dirt, including the California Phacelia from here, and then we try and separate the full plant. So we take it from the roots, and we just try and get all this dirt off of it for now. And then we take our chopstick, and we use it to dig a little hole, which we can then put the roots in, and eventually it'll grow to become this. So what's the message of literacy?
So our goal for youth is just to get a new aspect of life, because we don't have access to nature in school. And so this was a great program for youth to get outdoor connections and just get a new, different aspect of life.
That's what Breaking Ground is all about, according to SFPT's Julia Brashears.
It's about getting high school students together to share ideas, best practices, get inspired. It's about the environment and land stewardship.
Now let's find out what Jordan's up to.
If this stuff looks like an oddball pile of scraps, that's because it is. But these guys are putting it to use. What are you learning about recycling today?
To reuse scraps and that everything can be used for something.
They're making recycled hanging gardens out of stuff you might normally just toss into the trash. And I'm trying my hand at it too.
Kind of hold it in the expanded form.
Ian Colin is with Scrap, the Scrounger Center for Reusable Art Parts.
Scrap is all about getting people creative and taking one man's trash and making it another's treasure.
It's a lesson in reuse that Ian hopes will get these teens to think about scraps in a new way. Did you know you could make stuff out of all these recycled materials?
Honestly, if I looked at all this stuff, I would just throw it away. I mean, it doesn't look very interesting, but we're making really cool stuff out of it.
What do you hope teens learned from this activity today?
I hope that they saw that everyday things around them that they normally throw away can be repurposed to make the world better.
Let's go see what Brendan's up to.
Now you can't have a garden without bees. They're necessary for pollinating flowers and reproducing plants, and I know just where to find some. Wild bee populations have been on the decline, baffling scientists. Here, teens are finding out why they're so important to the ecosystem. Meanwhile, outside, we spotted another group of teens with green thumbs.
Well, what we're doing here is we're transplanting geraniums.
These guys are volunteers with the Visitation Valley Green Stewards. They're youth on a mission to spruce up their community.
We garden at parks and gardens around the neighborhood. We do planting, weeding, watering. Right now we're teaching people how to propagate by cutting.
Organizers say hands-on education like this is what it's all about.
Young people are vital to the environmental movement, and they're the future, and so this conference is all learning about how you can get involved, how you can improve your communities and make our cities healthier, better places to live.
Something all the youth here are working towards as they break ground for a more sustainable future. So does your school have solar panels yet?
If not, it could thanks to Students for Solar Schools.
It's a group founded by a teen in Southern California.
And Jessica's paying a trip to his high school campus.
Hey there, I'm on the campus of Westlake High School. This is home base for a group called Students for Solar Schools, an organization run entirely by teens. And they're thinking big when it comes to getting solar panels on schools, not just here, but everywhere. Getting our power from the sun. It's not just an idea to this group of high schoolers, it's a bright reality.
Would you guys like to move on to the Earth Solar Project?
Meet the teens behind Students for Solar Schools.
All right, are there any questions?
It's a group founded by Adam Rodanis, a high school student and California climate champion.
Students for Solar Schools is a nationwide network of schools that are working together to put solar panels on their high schools.
Rodanis got SSS off the ground at Westlake High School, where he was a member of the class of 2010. Fellow classmate Michelle Carney had a big hand in it too. What was it like getting this started? I mean, I heard that you were one of the co-founders?
Yeah, I actually started up the Westlake High School Earth Club as well, and one day Adam just came in and said, hey, let's go get solar panels, and I don't know, I just hopped on board, and 2 years later we have like 18 branches worldwide and a huge solar panel array, and it's just been great.
She's talking about these, their crown jewel, a 6.3 kilowatt system that powers 5 classrooms, but it wasn't easy getting there. It took a year and a half to bring the city, district, and school together to make it happen.
It was definitely the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. It took a lot of perseverance. We definitely had some hard times when we thought it might not ever happen, but finally it did, and it's great to see it here generating power.
The idea behind SSS is that the school districts pay nothing. Students fundraise to pay for the systems and get donations or discounts from businesses. How did you feel when you finally saw this up here? I mean, all your hard work had paid off.
It felt amazing to finally see the panels up. It took about 2 days to install, so me and some of my friends who were in the club ditched class to watch the panels being installed, and that's definitely one of my happiest memories second semester senior year.
There were smiles all around at the unveiling, and a crowd turned out to see Westlake's newest addition.
It really is a genuine student-run project, and that's what I'm most proud of too.
We had a chance to sit down with some of the SSS team.
So what made you guys decide to join SSS?
Well, I know for me, I really care about the environment, and we're so lucky to live in Southern California where the sun's shining like 360 days a year, that why not go solar? It'd be a great way for a school to help the environment.
It's really a good way for us to share ideas and come together and be able to work on the same common goal of solar panels on schools.
There's really not often that we get to have a chance to really change something in the world, to really make a difference and to leave a lasting impact and make the world a better place than we left it.
Pam Chang means that literally. This Oak Park high schooler is showing us her old elementary school. It didn't have all this when she left.
And it's just great to see how much this garden has grown. I mean, when I was here, it's just 3 plots with some sparse plants, but now you can see it's quite filled. It's like this little jungle.
And it sure didn't have these. What else is special about this greenhouse?
Well, the most unique thing about the greenhouse is that it's almost completely solar powered. We have solar panels on the roof behind it. It's a 2.8 kilowatt system, 12 solar panels that completely cover the electrical needs of the greenhouse so that it's really, a greenhouse.
Chang helped get the panels installed. They power the heater, fan, and sprinkler system that are needed to keep the plants happy.
My goal right now is to make everyone realize that solar panels are the present. They are the option that we should have to save our planet.
How does it feel to come back and see this installed and know that you were part of the process?
It makes me very inspired to be able to know that I left something at my own elementary school that thousands of kids will be able to experience when they go through the school.
It can also be used to educate kids about renewable energy. Over at Westlake, there are plans for that too.
We will be setting up monitoring systems and stuff so students can view it in their science classes and learn from that too, because informed people make informed decisions.
And these guys say decisions are what it's all about.
We're going to be the generation to make the biggest change, and I think that, it starts with us.
Everyone tells you, oh, you're just a kid, what can you do? But I think that if you really work hard and if you're really determined, you can see that there are times when kids can accomplish more than adults, that when we get together, you really can do something that would make a real change in the world.
So how can you make a real change? Rodonis has some advice.
I would tell other students to just find what they're passionate about and take that to the fullest extent possible. I wasn't really sure that we actually could put solar panels on Westlake High School. It was a really big goal, but we went for it, and just by keep working at it, you can achieve your goals.
It's one of the most advanced climate research centers on Earth.
Adam visits NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory to get the scoop on the health of the planet and its future.
Plus, we're on the hunt for some of nature's most elusive creatures, butterflies.
You got it.
And they're not the only insects being threatened by climate change. This guy is too. That's next on Eco Company. Hey guys, we're at the Bohart Museum of Entomology. And this isn't just any museum. You'll never guess what's in all of these. Insects like these gorgeous butterflies can tell us a lot about climate change. Let's go find out more. Take your pick of bugs, creepy crawlies, or even these walking sticks. If it's an insect you're looking for, chances are you'll find it here at the Bohart Museum of Entomology on the campus of University of California, Davis. Senior scientist Steve Hayden makes sure everything's in order here, down to the tiniest of creatures. Steve, tell us about this museum. There's so much going on.
We have about 7 million insects in this museum. It's the second largest insect collection west of the Mississippi River.
So why study bugs? Well, for one, they play an important role in our food chain.
Bees give us honey, but also they give us like apples and apricots and all kinds of fruits through their pollination effort. And there's some small flies that give us chocolate when they pollinate the chocolate flowers on the chocolate plant in the tropics.
Insects are also the backbone of our ecosystems. Mess with them and nature knows it. But a warming planet is threatening many species, changing plant habitats they rely on to survive. And in some cases, their habitat could be destroyed altogether.
The rising of the sea levels as the ice sheets melt will actually end up covering some islands. And the insects on islands are commonly unique because the islands are isolated from other areas around them.
That's bad news for creatures like this green guy.
These are a kind of a walking stick that lives in some of the Caribbean islands. And this is an insect that might be affected by climate change. Since being on an island, it has no place to go. It kind of has to sink or swim on the island. So here, you want to hold him?
The walking sticks are definitely cool. But another big crowd pleaser here are the butterflies.
That's swallowtail from New Guinea.
That's where Professor Art Shapiro comes in. He's known as the butterfly guy in these parts and beyond. In fact, Shapiro's behind one of the most extensive butterfly studies on record, funded by the National Science Foundation. Art's been trekking out to the same sites in Northern California and the Sierra Nevada for nearly 40 years. So he's seen what warming temperatures and habitat changes can do over time. We're in Gates Canyon, one of his study sites.
Whew, so much stuff flying around.
Let's catch up with him to see what we can spot out here today.
A lot of California hair streaks. Who's that in the road? That's another buckeye. You were just buzzed by an echo blue. Here comes a pale swallowtail, Mylitta crescent. There's a Lorquin's admiral right there. That's a farmer skipper. And there's a tailed copper down there. We're up to 23. There's a buckeye posing right by the roadside. See him opening and closing his wings?
Let's see if I can catch one.
Oh, you got it.
Oh my gosh. What kind of butterfly is this?
That's a Mylitta crescent. It's one that breeds on thistles.
What kind of tree are we looking at and why is it so good for butterflies?
It's the California buckeye. It is the best nectar source for butterflies in late spring.
It's habitat like this that plays a key role in insect survival. Are butterflies being affected by climate and how do we know?
Definitely they are, and especially in extreme climates, particularly at high elevations in the mountains and in the Arctic and subantarctic.
So species that live in colder climates that are warming are the ones most in trouble. And back at the museum, Art shows me a few.
This is one of the ones from my study sites in the Sierra, which is contracting apparently as a result of climate change. This is a butterfly known as an Arctic, found in very cold climates. They go all the way up to the shores of the Arctic Ocean. It's getting more local, more rare, and the marginal populations are apparently on their way out as a result of climate change.
If the climate continues to be this way, what does this mean for butterflies?
They're going to have to adapt or die. It's that simple.
And it's the past that's filed away in these drawers that could help predict the future.
You actually owe a lot more to insects than you really realize.
So even the Earth's tiniest creatures are affected by climate change and other environmental factors. They can tell us a lot about the world we live in.
I'm at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, where they don't just study the stars. They've got their eyes on Earth and climate change. More Eco Company is next.
When you think NASA, you probably think space shuttles or telescopes, right?
Well, it turns out scientists are doing a lot more than just giving us a glimpse of the stars.
They also have their eyes on Earth, its climate, and how it's changing.
Adam's paying them a visit after getting cleared for takeoff.
So what do we know about global warming? And greenhouse gases, for that matter? Not nearly enough, according to NASA researchers, which brings me here.
I'm at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, where top scientists are studying greenhouse gases. Now, they're a major part of climate change. Let's get the scoop.
Here at JPL, it's not just about studying the universe. There's still a lot to learn about Earth, the place we call home, especially when it comes to greenhouse gases, climate change, and what the Earth's future could look like.
One of the great questions of today is, even though we know for a long time now we've been letting carbon dioxide out into the atmosphere, emitting it when we burn fossil fuels like gasoline, coal, natural gas even, what we don't really know is how the nature is responding to this.
It's that question NASA scientist Mike Gunson hopes to answer. He's got his eye on the Earth's carbon cycle and is part of the Orbiting Carbon Observatory Team, or OCO.
Our overall objective is to measure the distribution of carbon dioxide around the world in the Earth's atmosphere.
CO2 is a crucial part of the atmosphere. In fact, did you know we actually need it to survive? For instance, plants use sunlight and CO2 for photosynthesis. Ecosystems even emit some CO2 naturally.
Good news, we need greenhouse gases because that maintains life here on the planet. But on the other hand, if you have too much of these greenhouse gases, it could start to warm up beyond where we could say the Earth is even habitable.
Too much human-emitted CO2 in the atmosphere will trap too much of the sun's energy, heating the Earth up. And it's something that's already happening.
Global warming is a very real problem. Climate change, we see the world changing faster today than probably it has in any time in the past 1,000 years.
So what could a warmer planet look like? Just look to the solar system and Venus, the second planet from the sun.
A runaway greenhouse effect is not a pretty sight, and you can see that on Venus.
It's not a pretty place.
It's not a pretty place, and very inhospitable.
While that's an extreme example, you get the idea. We certainly don't want to end up like that. Fortunately, even though mankind hasn't done a great job of keeping CO2 out of the air, nature has. The Earth's oceans and forests act as carbon sinks, storing some CO2, but there are consequences to that as well.
We want to understand the role of forests, oceans, and other areas in effects on carbon dioxide concentrations.
Once launched into space, the OCO2 will provide the first complete picture of human and natural carbon dioxide sources, and those sinks we mentioned. It will map them and study their changes over time. It will also look at reflective sunlight.
As that sunlight passes through the atmosphere, some of the sunlight is absorbed by carbon dioxide and oxygen, and we actually fingerprint that absorption of sunlight so that we can actually measure then the amounts of carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere.
And the carbon dioxide up there stays there for hundreds of years. And while NASA can use data to predict the future, Gunson says it depends on what we do now.
If there were a magic wand, if there were one thing you'd want to do, is you want to stop completely putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. But unfortunately, day-to-day life hinges on driving your car, using electricity, whatever you think of. We depend on energy provided by burning fossil fuels.
And as long as that continues, climate change will be a reality. And those of us on planet Earth will be forced to adjust to a different world.
For every person going through high school today, unfortunately, what they're going to inherit are a whole new set of problems. They're going to understand how they're going to adapt to a changing climate.
A climate that's changed before and is changing again.
Well, that's it for us this week. Thanks for tuning in.
Don't forget to check out our website at eco-company.tv for more on the show.
We'll see you next time on Eco Company.